Hello. So this will just be a mini transmission. I'm actually uploading currently a much longer transmission. And I realized in almost as soon as I hit upload, a few minutes after, I was speaking about Botswana agate, and I learned that it can be called the sunset stone as I was recording, but I had already made the thumbnail. So these two transmissions feel connected. I'll probably use the same thumbnail. So this thumbnail and the one, I believe I'm labeling the longer portion, something along the lines of Gradient Aura Lyrid transmission. And in that thumbnail, I actually utilized a photo from the Adriatic Sea at sunset. I did enhance it a little bit just for sake of making the thumbnail. But yeah, so it really there's something very significant about codes at sunset being transmitted. Ley lines, grid activations, grid work is coming through really strongly right now for someone. Metatron and time, like grids, time codes, timekeeper, dreamwalker, dreamweaver, merging times, timelines, again, gradient, like enmeshment. So if you're drawn to this, there's probably something going on. The word tones just came through. Ketones in the body. Someone could be working with ketones in the body. Again, the gem body is coming through, and the silicate DNA, there's like this opaque iridescence that I keep picking up on through the gem body. So, excuse me. Whew. There's also been quite a few autocorrects on my notes list, my vid notes that feel significant. I shared a few, I believe, in the last transmission, but I was trying to write, I don't even know what I was trying to write, but the word shotgun kept coming out. So there could be something about a shotgun, but something that keeps coming to mind is like a shotgun wedding. Weddings have been coming up very, very, very much lately. Very so much. And the idea of a shotgun wedding symbolically, it's like, it's fast. Not a lot of people know about it. It just kind of happens. So there's something in the energy right now that is equated to this symbology of a shotgun wedding. I mean, for some of you that could be literal, but I was just finishing my delicious coffee I described for a really long time in the other transmission. And I forgot that I put in, my mom, before I left, gave me chocolate covered espresso beans. I don't eat them often, but I do really like them. So I dropped a few of them as like a little treasure at the bottom of my coffee and completely forgot they were there. So I just remembered and was like, oh, that's exciting. Yeah. Time. There's really something so significant about time. I remember one of my first, I think, Patreon overflows was about the Aurora time spiral. So there could be something significant about that coming through. The Aurora timelines. I was talking a lot about temperature. And like right now I just realized I've been having a lot of, I guess I'm in a climate change right now. I just switched climates and my body must be adjusting, but my fingertips just felt so cold to my neck, but my neck feels so warm. And I've been having a lot of that extreme warm and cold sensations. So that could be coming up for someone. Yes, I'm working on my blood flow and all the things. It's just sometimes we go through these transitions, and that's what my body's doing right now, 15:15 on the timer. And I actually saw 3131 on the license plate yesterday or the day before. I don't know why these repeating numbers are coming through so strongly, but whew. It's interesting because the first part of this transmission was like a lot about 1s and 4s, and now I'm getting a lot of like 1s and 5s. A very unexpected song just started playing in my head. I think it's Bon Jovi, Shot Through the Heart, right? Like Shotgun, there's something about that. Shot Through the Heart, that song. I don't know. Okay, so recently I was talking about 1977 and how significant and weirdly 1977 kept coming up. I don't remember, honestly, if it was on Patreon or YouTube, but synchronicities around the year 1977, which is 11 years before I was born. So I did a little like research, and sometimes I plug some things into Gemini, just like full disclosure. I've had a lot of conflict about it, but it's really, I use it very discerningly and carefully. But anyway, so allegedly the discovery of Chiron, the wounded healer, happened in 1977, which is so interesting because I've been talking a lot about like different themes that are being transmuted through those of us who feel like we are, you know, ancestral lineage investigators, if you will, transmuters, alchemizers. And yeah, so the significance of Chiron, the wounded healer, you know, there's really something about that feels currently right now, especially with I was just talking about in the last transmission, the meteors of the Lyrids, that feels really significant as well, that it's coming up. And the copper snake that came through my dream and then that I saw walking to the beach yesterday, or 2 days ago, this copper snake that was in half, like the caduceus is coming through. Yeah, there's something really prevalent about the discovery, allegedly, of Chiron and the wounded healer, and something that's coming up now, especially like what some people in like call like the victimizer programs, or like victim consciousness, suffering, like, what's that word? I was talking about this in like 2 transmissions ago about the suffering timelines. That just doesn't sound right for some reason, but yeah. And so in Overflow on Patreon, I was planning to talk about the Palladorian contracts and activations and like guardianship victimhood mentality. So that's coming through really strong themes as well. Yeah, like sacrificial guardianship and ways that, if you want to call it like older paradigm ways of healing through that. Not saying that was wrong, but I do feel like there's not at all. Like that was just the current streams, but it does feel like this gem body that's coming in is kind of, again, this like gradient flow that I've been talking about, that's coming in and rewiring a new a new stream so that those but you know, they say that the only way, I'm like burping literally through all of these transmissions, it's crazy. I mean, the 2 that I'm recording today, oh, so many. You know, I talked about in the recent ascension descending, I think I called it, transmission, when I had this migraine come up, and I was like, you know, what am I doing wrong? Like, what can I do to fix this? And it was like, no, the only way is through. We're here, you're present, you breathe, like that kind of thing. So it's the same idea, like the only way is through. I mean, everyone may not agree with that, but there's something about whoever's drawn to this. It's about actually, again, sitting with that process and respecting the alchemy that's available instead of trying to just, you know, it's almost like kind of the way it's being shown to me, like when we quantum leap, right? Or we close out a timeline or integrate a fragment. Yeah, we can have these like quantum leaps sometimes. And this isn't the same protocol for everyone, but like some people may, let's say they have like a lineage pattern and like it's just not they don't want to deal with it right then, or it's not the right time. And then they quantum leap into a different situation and it's like, oh yeah, I got rid of that. But what I'm being shown is like, yeah, we can like save things for different times, but like at some point in that spiral, it's going to come back around. So when I'm being shown the only way is through, it doesn't have to be this like linear thing, obviously, but at some time and some point in space, time, place, yeah, it will be, it's there. It will be there in some way. Interesting. Okay. Also, apparently the Voyager, in 1977, NASA launched the Voyager probes carrying the golden record of Earth sounds, music, and DNA signatures into the deep cosmos. And I believe we just launched recently, people are like going back to the moon, apparently. I know it depends what you believe. If we were at oh my gosh, look at all of that static. I couldn't even get that sentence out. There's so much like energetic, like blah, 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 blah. Whether you believe we were at the moon or not at the moon already, if there's bases on the moon, I've gone through all the conspiracies, mostly, as many as I'm sure there's plenty of new ones since I've gone down that rabbit hole, but whatever you believe or don't believe about the moon, whether it's a real moon, a satellite, there was a second one in Atlantis that blew up, there wasn't one, there was this, there was that, it's a holographic projection. I mean, it's a bell, it doesn't bell, it rings, it doesn't ring, I understand there's so many perspectives about the moon, but it does feel significant that this is coming up of a voyage from 1977 and now this launch. I'm sure there's a pattern there about NASA. I'm not going to get into that right now, but maybe some of you are into that. But I do feel like there's something significant about this like culmination point right now of why this is coming through. I also feel like today, this is the second transmission, like I mentioned, that I'm recording, and I almost feel like I'm speaking in like those sharp edges. Like I was talking about in the first transmission, the aura becoming more gradient and enmeshed and flowing. And like these sharp edges like softening, and I almost feel like I've been speaking in the auric flow, or lack thereof, of more like sharp edges. Like I feel like I've been like spurting out information and then pausing, and like it feels a little bit sharp. But now as I'm doing the second transmission, I'm realizing that the flow is circulating. Like I feel more in flow. So that energy seems to be so potent, and it's coming through not only symbology, but like the way I've been, my cadence, my speaking pattern. And I've mentioned this before, but I always trust the energy like that. I read, and I know a lot of other people do too, like how the message comes through or how transmissions are dispersed, because I feel like there's always something significant. And I almost didn't want to post actually the first one, because I was like, I feel like I'm speaking in like sharp edges, and it's not my usual. I don't like it, but something told me to just keep going and trust it. So I'm glad I did, because now I feel that difference. And ooh. Okay, there's something really interesting going on here. I just realized a new person popped up on my For You page or whatever on YouTube, I think. And I've never seen her before. And she reminded me of my friend. That's why I watched it. She's like a craft person, but she does like really out of the box things. And she was like tying all these balloons into her hair. Like so many that like her hair was just in the air with these balloons. She was just like, yeah, I don't know. I just got sucked down her rabbit hole. But something that caught my eye now is I wanted to look a little bit more deeply into this 1977 Voyager 1 and 2, the Golden Records. There's something really screaming at me about this. So 1977. So anyway, I'm watching this person last night, and she wanted to do, I wish I knew her name. I think she called herself Serena, Serena. And she put, so that name could be significant for someone, but or those initials, she put like basically a time capsule, like a little tiny mini pink box in her wall. She like cut out her piece of her wall and stuck a little time capsule in there, and then like called a handy, a repairman to come to patch up the wall. And then she didn't want him to be bored, so then she called a violinist to play for the repairman while he repaired her wall. But the stuff she put in her time capsule was like very, important to her, but like someone else could look at it and be like, this is trash. Like, what is this? It was like some of her fake eyelashes, a picture of her family, like, whatever, a few different things. So time capsules feel significant, and I didn't even realize why I was watching this, but I was talking about quantum seeding, and I had this experience of a similar quantum seeding from 1956, and I talk about that in a different transmission. I'm not going to go into that right now, but now 1977 is coming up, and so when I looked more into the launch, so interestingly, the same year that this launch, 1977, aboard Voyager 1 and 2, the Golden Records are gold-plated copper phonograph discs containing sounds, images, and greetings designed to portray Earth's diversity to extraterrestrial intelligence. Selected by a committee led by Dr. Carl Sagan, this, quote, time capsule includes 55 languages, music, nature, sounds, and 116 images. Now, again, depending on where you're at in your vantage point of consciousness, I know some people believe we've been interfacing with extraterrestrial, interdimensional, etc. intelligences for eons. So this could have been a distraction. Who knows? I'm not going to get into that, but there is something significant because the Quasar plates, or the CTT plates, are said to be, if you're not familiar, these metallic discs that derive from a larger apparatus that have been dispersed and guarded through grail lines for years, especially the Essenes of this universal, well, it's not just universal, it feels even broader than that, teachings of basically like the law of one, but more, feels a little bit more, complex than that. So this idea doesn't feel so far-fetched if literally our own, NASA has launched these golden records. The selenite, and I'm hearing selenium, but selenite and the silver discs, metallic discs, are supposed to be composed of specific material. So yeah, there's something about this like more earthly bound release. I've never heard of this before, actually. This, quote, time capsule that was said to be launched, that's still, I guess it's still orbiting, and now it's like bouncing back through, those of us who are looking into stuff like this. And again, that like seed planted in 1977 and the discovery of Chiron, and now this coming through, the Voyager Golden Record, 2 identical phonograph records with 1 copy aboard each of the 2 Voyager spacecraft launched in 1977. Into interstellar space. Okay. Speaking of sound, like how far we've come since 1977 with sound, and not only externally, but like, those of us who have been re-encrypting our own there's so many words to use that I don't even have one word. Just our own re-encryption, the way that I'm able to like hear tones and sounds, and others who are also doing this. Not to say that that wasn't happening in 1977, because I'm sure there were plenty of people also. But even like this Lyrid meteor, when these different windows of enmeshment between constellations dimensional spaces, time, have been like opening, closing, integrating. There's something about this particular culmination point of this next octave that's presented to a lot of us. So, well, really to all of us, but those of us who are aware of it and really working with it and not just letting it work us. Does that make sense? Very interesting. Okay, I wanted to keep this much shorter. We're already at 20 minutes, so let me see if there's anything else before I close out. Oh, okay, one more. Energetic strand coming in, the sylphs. So I kept feeling the sylphs the last 2 days, the energy of the sylphs. And whenever I see clouds, like wispy clouds, I especially get tapped into the sylph energy. Maybe some of you have been as well. So it said, sylphs are mystical elemental spirits of the air, originating from the 16th century. Paracelsian occult studies. Described as slender, graceful, and often winged. They're associated with wind, intelligence, creativity. In folklore, they are considered capricious, and in modern English, the term sylph often refers to a slender, graceful woman. Oh, I didn't know that. Well, from my memory, I didn't look this up currently, and it's been a while, but I believe Nostradamus is the one who coined the term sylphs. I should double check myself so that I'm not giving out incorrect information. 21 minutes on the timer, and again, I'm recording this on April 21st, said to be the peak of the Lyrid meteors, so I was wrong. I know that Nostradamus had something to do with this, from what I remember, but I'll get there. I already read it and didn't realize. So the term sylph was coined in the 16th century. There's been a lot coming up, so many different time periods. I think I was talking a lot about the 1400s. Recently, there was something really strong coming through about that. And now the 16th century. So the Swiss-German physician alchemist. 1493. I knew it was the 1400s. I could feel that. Which I guess was the 16th century to 1541. It's funny because I was going to say the 1400s and the 1500s. I was feeling that, but I didn't realize I was going to say that. I promise. The Swiss-German physician Paracelsus introduced sylphs or sylphs, different spelling, as the elemental spirits of air in his, which outlined a system of beings representing the 4 classical elements. So, interestingly, the etymology links back to of the woods or forest, and nymph. And I have talked about nymphs before in a different transmission a while back. So there could be a connection here, but it's interesting that it would etymologically go back to woods or forest when this is like the wind and the air. And it's said that the original description, unlike the modern delicate depiction that Paracelsus described sylphs as beings that were stronger and rougher than humans, though they could move through the air as easily as humans walk. And I know that I've had some people that I have spoken to over the years. There's one person in particular I'm thinking of who, she didn't have like a name for them, but what did she call them? Skywalkers? Where she would see these beings like walk through the clouds. I think she called them skywalkers, but it seems to be similar to this sylph energy. Okay, I cannot find a connection between Nostradamus and sylph, so I don't know why in my brain I conjured that up. So please delete that for now until something else pops up. But interestingly, something just popped up on my feed or on my search. Gnomes, salamanders, and undines, so they could be significant for someone. I'm not going to get into that at the moment, but when I tap into the self right now, the selves, as I've been feeling their energy, and I do feel I will see also, it's hard to explain what I see, but at the moment, but I've seen beings through the clouds that sometimes also jump, like cloud jump, I guess, or like move through the air. I've also seen other beings in clouds that are very different than these beings. So oftentimes, for some reason, when I feel or see sylphs, they often, like if I'm walking, and it's almost like they emanate through these particular clouds for some reason, the wispy clouds, and I'll see like through, like out of my peripheral kind of, it will like glide by me. And then when I look up, I'll see like I'll look over, and then I'll see almost like a sparkle, like left behind. It's not always that way, but for some reason that wanted to come through. And I'm not really feeling a particular, oh, my right temple just started to tighten. So speaking of peripheral, some of you may be working on your vision in some way, like maybe you're doing eye exercises or muscle exercises around the eyes. Maybe you're like, I do this thing where I like look up and then I look clockwise and counterclockwise. And, you know, there's so many different practices with the eyes. If you are feeling drawn to that, or if you're already doing that, there's something connected to the self energy and the periphery, your peripheral vision. Right? And like when we talk about having blinders on, or like when you would see horses with those blinders, there's something about like expanding your vision in that way, symbolically, physically, emotionally. And I'm also being shown, I forgot about this, but within the last few days, something came up about, I was reading like comments on a video or something about the wind and like the origination of the wind in, I don't want to quote this, but someone was talking about how like the wind was born in Iraq, which I'm not saying that this is a thing, but there's something about like ancient maps and maps throughout time, how there was like this depiction in Antarctica. I can't remember the name of the place, but it meant Black Mountain. And it's so synchronistic. This is coming up now because I'm in Montenegro, which literally means Black Mountain. And that in Antarctica, it was said that like Eden, I believe it was Eden or equivalent or adjacent, would be the Black Mountain, where 4 flowing water streams meet, like all live around this mountain. And someone was talking about the significance of that and wind. So the sylphs coming through, there's something about, again, like, I was talking about in the first transmission, like wisdom, the word wise. So this like inner remembrance and knowing and intelligence that lives, you know, like in the grids, in the ley lines, in the air, in the wind, in the elements, etc. That those of us who are re-encrypting our elemental bodies and consciousness that are starting, not just starting, but are expressing. For some of you, it may be starting, or at least just starting more consciously. But for some of you, you're already very deep into this. But yeah, so that feels like something coming through very strongly. And I'm just realizing about 2 days ago, 2 nights in a row, I believe, at night, the wind was picking up so strongly here. Like I got a notification on my phone, something about yellow wind warning. I've never heard of that before, but the winds were like so intense. And I'm just realizing now that they're, you know, I was kind of laying here and just like listening to the wind. So some of you may feel like you tune in with the wind, you hear messages in the wind, you know, like Pocahontas painting the colors of the wind. Like there's something very significant about that coming through right now. And like wherever you are geographically, whether you're in one place, you're traveling, there's something about connecting with the ley lines and the wind and like kind of almost anchoring something emitting from the wind into the ley lines. That would be like specific for someone, but Yeah, like there's someone posted something about they like hooked up a bird song into some sort of like technology that it was showing that the bird song was actually like geometric patterns, like forming these geometric patterns. And someone commented like being a jerk, like, yeah, obviously it's language, but like, I don't know, it was still honestly visually very cool to see. But there's something about that, like the wind having not just the sound of the wind, but like, I can't prove this, but I'm being shown like these geometric formations that are encoded with the wind, and those of us that can receive these codes and like translate in our own way, whether it's conscious, subconscious, etc. So yeah, that's really cool. They're like showing me these beautiful, like speaking of gradient auric field streams and geometric coding, like the language of the wind. And that's just one example. Like obviously there's so many elementals coming through, but the wind for some reason wanted to come through first. And then of course the clouds, the molecular molecules, the water, and the crystalline nature, you know, it's all here being shown. Snow, of course, mist, fog, rain. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to call it here. Thank you.